Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. So today we're looking at some of the different archetypes and we're looking at the Bouncers. These were used by NISTRO, who was one of the guardians for Heartland and one of the security force in Yu-Gi-Oh Zeal. This was to do with the dueling tournament that was going on, and these were his specialized cards. There aren't many of them. And it's a shame because it was a very small sub-archetype, only to bring out one Xyz monster. Had it, hopefully Konami will pick up on this archetype in the future and to give it that much more support. So the first card is Phantom Bounzer. This is a Dark Attribute Warrior type level 6 with 2,400 attack and 1,200 defense. Its effect is, if this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add 2 Bounzer cards from your deck to your hand. This card essentially is used just to search out for your cards. It's really not that powerful. Yes, it's a 2,400 attack monster, but other than that, it can be easily run over. Level 6, 2,400 is a decent enough stat line to consider running it. But the other thing I'd mention is they kind of forgot about this archetype. I feel Konami especially forgot about it because NISTRO then developed throughout the series to replace its Bounzer monsters with the Heroic Challenger monsters. So these were kind of thrown away. The next card is Hammer Bounzer. This is a level 6 Earth Attribute Warrior type monster with 2,300 attack and 2,000 defense. Its effect is, if your opponent controls a card and you control no cards, you can normal summon this card without tributing. If this card attacks an opponent's monster as long as you control no spell or trap cards, your opponent cannot activate any spell or trap cards until the end of the damage step. So this is able to just summon itself, but it is under the condition that you have no cards. That means no monsters, no spells, or no traps. It might just be better just to summon it, with the one tribute. It's nice that it's being able to shut down your opponent's spell or traps, but that's only in exchange for you not having any. So are you prepared to run that risk? The one consistent monster that he really had was Blade Bounzer. This is an Earth Attribute Warrior type level 4 with 1,800 attack and 1,400 defense. The effect is, once per turn, if this card attacks and your opponent controls a monster, at the end of the damage step, you can discard one card. This card can attack an opponent's monster once again during this battle phase. So it gets essentially a double attack, but you do have to trade off one card as a discard. I remember this was used within the anime against Yuma Tsukumo, and he actually used a monster that he could make, invincible in battle by discarding a card. With the anime effect, it let Blade Bounzer essentially attack limitless times based on the number of cards NISTRO was able to discard, whereas in this it's been powered down so that it can only attack up to a maximum of twice a turn its normal attack, plus the additional attack from its effect. Bouncer Guard is a normal trap card, and it's the only form of spell or trap support they received. The effect, target one face-up Bouncer monster you control. This turn it cannot be targeted by other card effects or be destroyed by battle. This turn, if an opponent's monster attacks, it must target that monster for an attack if it is still on the field. So what this does is it protects your Bouncer monsters, but it doesn't protect your life points. That's the difference. It's the way I see it is a little bit like having a Wabuku, but for the Bouncer archetype. Other than the fact that you still take the damage, but it's a decent little card for the archetype, and it's specifically only for them. And the final card, which is the boss monster, is Photon Strike Bounzer. This is a light attribute warrior type Xyz monster, rank 6 with 2,700 attack and 2,000 defense. It requires 2 level 6 monsters to summon, and it's generic. Once per turn during either player's turn, when a monster effect is activated, on your opponent's side of the field, you can detach one Xyz material from this card, negate the effect, and if you do, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. This has always been quite useful, nearer the beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zeal where it was introduced. This actually was quite popular for shutting down your opponent's effects. Remember, if they had other Xyz monsters, they could shut them down, and that meant you could do the burn damage plus make sure that this stuck around. And it was very useful for just interacting and stopping your opponent from going into further Xyz monsters or Xyz plays, with things such as Goblinberg being around and Kage to Kage, just ways of shutting down your opponent, really. It's sad that this archetype hasn't seen much respect, and I hope in the future they might consider doing something about it, but we just have to wait and see how things progress. Lightning Overdrive has been a miracle for certain archetypes, so you've got Bujin's support, Traptrix support, and you've got even things like the Armed Dragons have gotten support, so who's to, and that was back in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, those cards came out, so who's to say Photon might not get some in the future. Whatever you think, leave those comments down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. Make sure to enjoy the stream and donate if you can. Thank you.